Hey guys, so here bringing you another video. Now, a lot going on at the moment. Obviously, the season has just launched, and now we also have all the information for Mel, the Soul's Reflection, coming to League next patch. So right now we're on patch 25.S1.1. Every 2 weeks we have patches. So in point 2 is when Mel will be launching. It's worth knowing, just to say at the outright, she is a mid laner by her design. I thought she was going to be a support, but yeah, she's a mid mage. Just to say, there was also not a Riot meeting about this. None of us were invited, even like the big creators. There was no meeting, so we were just given everything this morning and were told, oh, here's everything, and later on today you can release a video. So of me recording this, I've still not decided, am I uploading this to HuzzyGames or am I uploading this to Huzzy Extra? I'm going to decide that, I guess, later. But I'm allowed to upload this at 8 PM UK time, so I'm not sure. But anyway, Mel, let's get into it. So I will say, because we haven't ever had a dev meeting, the way they've also given us everything, I've kind of had to interpret it like what abilities go with what. So the clips that you're about to see, hopefully it's correct. But if we get into her passive first, which is called Searing Brilliance, and I've got, I think, 3 clips that go with that. So we'll start with this one. So you can probably tell, potentially, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is a 3-hit passive, baby. They love 3-hit passives. So whenever Mel uses an ability, she gains 3 bonus projectiles on her next attack, up to 9 maximum. When Mel deals damage through an ability or an attack, she applies Overwhelm, which stacks up damage to execute the enemy. If the enemy is hit by Mel with enough Overwhelm damage to kill them, the stacks are consumed executing them. Now, again, that's all I know. I don't know what the percentages are. I don't know any of that stuff. So that's the execute. So you're seeing, like, Ambassador just gets killed because the stacks that she has on, I guess the percentage maybe. Let's say if you've got 9 of those, the percentage of the execute may go up. But I've got that. Then I also have this for her passive. So that's combining an ability we'll be seeing, which is her Q, with her passive, showing of it stacking with her Q. And then I also, I think, have this as well. So I don't know how it's different. Oh, it's throwing an auto attack in with her Q. So it just shows you can basically build up her passive with anything. Moving on to her... Ooh, I just noticed we don't actually have... Do we not actually have a Q? We might not even have a Q thingy. Okay, this is her Q, I believe. So we'll listen to it. It's called Radiant Volley, and this is Mel fires a barrage of projectiles that explode around a target, isolating deal damage repeatedly to enemies in that area. I don't know if this is a skill shot. I don't know if it's locked on. By the look of it, you know, this bit, it looks quite Kai'Sa Q-ish. It looks pretty reminiscent of that, so I would guess it's a lock-on. But it might be a skill shot, but yeah, I would guess it's a lock-on ability. It's worth mentioning, I do have another document which we'll go through later. They did a bit of a dev Q&A, so I'll read through some of the things that the developers are already saying about her. Again, normally we'd learn more in the dev meeting, but as I've mentioned, there wasn't a dev meeting. So that's her Q. Next is her W, which will be here, which is the big crazy ability. So yeah, I'll be straight up. I don't think people have had an over-exaggeration to this. This probably is turning into one of the strongest abilities in League of Legends history. So if you can't tell what's going on, Jinx is firing W. It immediately deflects back to Jinx. Now, there's been a trailer already to this champion. You know, China didn't time things well. Basically, because we were talking about it on stream today, what happens, you know, when it comes to a projectile? Blitzcrank hook is a projectile. What happens if she W's a Blitzcrank hook? Yeah, she hooks the Blitzcrank in. Like, she reflects it to the Blitzcrank, so then he gets hooked in. This is crazy. So basically, the way that they define this W, which, by the way, let's just go over the base of it. Mel gains movement speed, forms a barrier around herself that reflects enemy projectiles back at the attacker and prevents taking damage. So what they basically said was, any ability that gets blocked by the normal wind walls of the game, so Yasuo W, Samira W, this will not just block it, it reflects. So Blitzcrank Q does get blocked by Yasuo or Samira wind wall, right? So it does it here. Now, how does it work with certain things? So Riot's already said, if you, let's say you W a Viger ultimate, which is a targeted ability will go targeted back to that champion. So it'll be an automatic lock on. If Viger W's her, Viger ultimates her and she W's it, it's going to go back on Viger with the same parameters that a Viger ultimate would have. I think not in terms of his damage, but in terms of, it's an execute, and it scales with her AP and stuff like that. So it's pretty strong. And then when it comes to an aimed ability, Jinx's W, for example, it will bounce back in the way of Jinx, but you will be able to dodge it like a Jinx W. But yeah, this ability does seem strong. So that is the W. Next up, the E, which has two parts to it. At least there's two parts of the video. So this is called Solar Snare. Okay, and then it's a black thing for 2 minutes. Okay, get rid of that one. We'll now try this one. Okay, so that, again, it doesn't show much what it is, but Mel fires a radiant orb, rooting enemies in the center while dealing damage over time and slowing in an area about it. So, kind of like a modern Lux E. You know, that's the thing when people say, like, modern champions are better versions of old champs. If Lux was released in 2025, this would probably be what her E would be, not the one that just, like, fires out and stays there. So, a lot more modern, obviously. So there's that. Pretty cool. And then her ultimate, which is called Golden Eclipse. They do. Didn't look much. Mel strikes all enemies marked with Overwhelm, which obviously we learned about that in her passive. So she strikes all enemies marked with Overwhelm, regardless of range, dealing additional damage for each stack of Overwhelm. Ranks of Golden Eclipse increases Overwhelm's damage. So basically, all your abilities are dealing, like, putting Overwhelm stacks on all the champions that you hit in a fight. And let's be honest, most of her abilities are dealing AoE damage. So you'll be hitting most things with some stacks. And if they're even running away, regardless of how far they are, it's kind of like a Karthus ultimate that, bam, I'm hitting you with whatever stacks I managed to put on you earlier. So this basically means if you just press R and no one's been hit, it does nothing. This only does stuff when you actively hit stuff before. So that's cool. And now what I've got is a couple minutes worth of gameplay stuff. And when the gameplay is going on, I will read through some of the questions and answers. But yeah, sorry if this has been a bit messy. It's what I've been given, and it's a little bit all over the place. So the first one is a Baron team fight. And I have heard some of these clips do not have any audio. And this seems to be one of them. So, yeah, sorry about that. But they're obviously, and again, why are they blurring everything? They're just hiding information that they don't want to show. So I'll leave that up for now for the first one or two questions so you can get an idea of her a little bit. So the first one is basically, and I want to go over this one a little bit quick because obviously it's not about her gameplay, but how quickly did they know she was going to be a champion in League from Arcane? Yeah, TLDR, they basically said we first saw Mel in the first season of Arcane, but even before that, they were already explorations on bringing her to Summoner's Rift. So before season 1 of Arcane, she was in the pipeline of, she'd be cool to make. So obviously, you know, Arcane, I think season 1 launched in 2021 or 22. So she's been years in the making, and they finally decided to drop her now. And basically, they also, when they were making season 2 of the show, where they were truly showing her power, because obviously at the end of season 1, she reflects the big rocket. Obviously, spoilers for Arcane, but if you haven't watched even season 1 right now, then yeah. But yeah, we knew that she had power at the end of season 1, but season 2 obviously shows it a lot more. Yeah, they basically worked really close with the Arcane team in what she's actually going to be able to do. So, you know, her W is basically what we saw in the show at the end of season 1, stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Next, I'll change the clip so you have something else to watch. Again, no audio, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Next up is what were their goals for designing Mel. So they had a few. So a reasonable parity with her powers and character in the show. They wanted to make sure that she was like what people would expect. Make sure she was a fun mage that anyone could play, whether a player's been playing League for years or they're giving it a try after Arcane. 3, giving her a really unique power to distinguish her from the rest of the roster. And 4, make sure she feels graceful and gorgeous. That's a weird word to use. We wanted to make a champion that players who play Lux and Morgana would love, a return to classics mage with a modern twist. That's the way that they've defined it. So there you go. Next up is what is her intended role. So Mel is intended as a mid lane and support mage. We expect the shape of her kit to promote mid lane over support in high level play due to the focus on damage, but we will work to ensure support is also a viable pick. Yeah, people are going to play her support. People play Vel'Koz support, and Mel clearly has more support capabilities than Vel'Koz. So she will be played mid, she will be played support. That's the way of the game nowadays. How would they describe Mel's gameplay style? Mel is easy to play, hard to master. Just contributing something pretty easy with her abilities. Mel's Q fires up to 10 projectiles that explode in an area and has a long range. You're likely to hit a couple of those. Her E, Solar Flare, launches an orb that spreads solar heat around it that slows and damages enemies. So even if you miss your route in the dead center, you still get a little crowd control. See, right there, by the way, her E is a route and it's a damage AoE. It's literally like Lux Q and E combined. That's where people do say, oh, new champions are just better version of old, because an old champion has 2 separate abilities that do 2 different things. New champions, that's one ability that does both things. That's part of the damage creep problem. So yeah, basically she's easy to play, quite beginner friendly, but obviously will have a skill curve to her. Do they have any tips on Mel? Mel's Q doesn't deal much damage if you missed most of your shots. Make sure to try and predict where your opponent will be next and hit them to get more damage. So that would, to me, indicate that she's a... Oh, yeah, look, you can actually see it. It's a skill shot. It's not a targeted ability. So it's not like Kai'Sa Q. It's actually a skill shot. Cool. Okay. Anything else? Any tips for playing against Mel? Mel needs time to deal damage to you and can take advantage of that. When she hits you and starts stacking up Overwhelm debuff, back off before she gets too many stacks and kills you with her ultimate, or go in and basically murder her before she can get her ultimate off. So one-shot her or she'll kill you, in essence. Also, be very careful with what projectiles you're using on her. I think that probably will cover the Q&A. So, in essence, that's the champion. She seems a bit crazy, I'm not going to lie. She seems strong, no doubt about that. So, let me know what you guys think about her. I think she's cool. Like, also I can bring up, this is her base skin. So, again, very Noxus themed, obviously from the cinematic. And then I think I'm allowed to say, because again, it's already been on the PBE, Arcane Mel is her skin. So if you just like if you don't want her to look all Noxusy, she has the Arcane look that you know from the show. So yeah, but anyway, that's going to be it. If you guys are hyped for the champion, let me know down below. But yeah, I'm really hyped for season 2025. I will say, obviously I finished all placements and stuff today, and I had a really good recording day, and I'm really happy with the content that we've made. So I'm looking forward to you guys to watch that. But anyway, that's going to be it. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.